The young Dr. politician, Dr. Michael Okpara, was sworn in as Premier of Eastern Nigeria at the end of 1959 in succession to Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who had resigned to become Nigeria's first African Governor-General. With him, a new generation is coming to the fore. Dr. Okpara's appointment sees the eastern region in a gay mood, civic receptions, cheering people. Dr. Okpara moves into the Premier's lodge with his family, new ground for his second son to explore. The young Premier in his new office, drafting press statements for a short press conference. After the meeting, Dr. Okpara says goodbye to pressmen. Now it's time for a cabinet meeting of EXCO, the Executive Council. Regional ministers arriving for a meeting. The Honorable O.U. Afia, Minister of State, Chieftaincy and Establishment. The Ikeneche Oha of Ogu, Chief Basil Charles Okwu, Minister of Information. The Minister of Finance, the Honorable Emoke, and Pius Nwoga, Minister of Local Government. The Minister of Town Planning, Chief Emole, and the Honorable G.E. Okeke, Minister of Education. The Igwe of Ukehe, Chief John Nwodo, Minister of Commerce. The Minister of Internal Affairs, Chief I.U. Akpario. Government at work. The Premier, Dr. Okpara, presides over an EXCO meeting in his official capacity as the President. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General, the Honorable M.O. Ajegbo. The Chief Secretary to the Premier, Mr. J.O. Udoji. The Chairman of Eastern Nigeria's Public Service Commission, Mr. Felix Iheanacho, arriving at the Premier's lodge for consultation. The Eastern Wing of the NCNC Women's Association, headed by Mrs. Margaret Egpo, started the series of splendid civic receptions in honor of the new Premier. A traditional gift goes to a good dancer. Chief the Honorable Mrs. Margaret Egpo is the first Nigerian woman to become a member of Parliament. The Secretary of the NCNC Women's Association, Chief the Honorable Mrs. Janet Makilu. Members of the association arrived first at the Premier's lodge to pay homage to Dr. and Mrs. Okpara. From the Premier's lodge, they will escort the new Premier and his wife to the stadium where the reception will take place. The President of the Eastern House of Chiefs, the Honorable Eyong Esien. The Chairman of the NCNC Eastern Working Committee, Dr. G.C. Mbanugu, arriving with some members of the association. Chief Okwu, Vice Chairman of the NCNC Eastern Working Committee. Mrs. Adama Okpara, wife of the new Premier, chats with some of the women. The Premier leaves for the stadium in a motorcade. Dr. Mbanugo, chairman for the civic reception, explains the object of the gathering. In their address to the Premier, read by the Secretary of the Association, the women say they would like more industries to solve unemployment in the region. The patron of the association, Madame Okoye, presents a Holy Bible to the Premier on behalf of the association. Dr. Okpara receives the address.
We propose to utilize our iron ore and coal for an integrated iron and steel industry. Altogether, the future is bright for industry in the eastern region. Thirdly, science.
Abasido amenton donke sombomaka akwa basianangko Epuleriye yaranwai okunmi kusumoko kontenyo no mile taububima Abasido amenton donke sombomaka akwa basianangko
Youth Day celebration. The Honorable G.E. Okeke, Eastern Nigeria Minister of Education, addressing the school children before they march past. The Premier takes the salute. Mrs. Okeke presents the certificate to the winning school in the march past. Mr. Cyprian Ekwenzi, a well-known Nigerian journalist and author, is one of the pressmen covering Dr. Okpara's arrival from the London Constitutional Conference. The Central Minister of Transport and Aviation, the Honourable Amanze Njoku, Mr. G.C.M. Onyuke, Queen's Consul and Director of Public Prosecution, Eastern Region, Dr. Okpara, arriving from the London Constitution Conference, held between British and Nigerian leaders for the final transfer of power. To the Lagos airport, to welcome Dr. Okpara, have come central and regional ministers, legislators, high government officials, top businessmen, and members of the press. The Premier, with his wife, leaves for Eastern Region. The journey involves the crossing of the Onitsha ferry. He proceeds to Onitsha Stadium in a motorcade for a royal reception in his honor by the Obis, chiefs, and people of Onitsha province. The Obi of Onitsha. Dr. Okeke reads and presents an address of welcome by the obese chiefs and people of Onitsha province to the Premier, Dr. Okpara. Another address of welcome is from the Onitsha women's community, read by Mrs. Agnes Okoye. The Premier receives a live cock as present from the leader of the women's community. The cock is the voting symbol of the NCNC, and Dr. Okpara is the national president of the organization. Various symbolical gifts, signs of loyalty, love, and admiration. The Obi of Oka Etiti, Chief Silas Ezenwa. Chief J.C. Okeke. The Premier thanks the Obis, chiefs and people of Onitsha province on behalf of his wife and himself for their gifts and for their kind sentiments. Dr. Okpara says that he has the interest and welfare of all the 8 million people of eastern Nigeria uppermost in his mind. My government, he points out, is committed to improve the standard of living of the common man in the region. Agriculture, Dr. Okpara emphasizes, is the bedrock of all modern progress, and he advises the young men to go back to farming in order to increase the pace of economic progress. Mr. Okoye, a true nationalist, was jailed first edition when Nigeria was under colonial rule. The Premier, accompanied by his wife, Mrs. Adama Okpara, the Commissioner for Onitsha Province, the Honorable R.O. Iwagwu, and some members of the Onitsha Urban District Council, inspects the Onitsha market. The Onitsha market is famous, reputed to be the most modern market in West Africa. It cost well over £500,000. Dr. Imoke, Minister of Finance, has time to get a snap of his Premier while he inspects the map of the market. The Premier and his party also take a look at the site for the new Onitsha Azaba Bridge across the Niger. The federal government has voted £6 million for this project. When the proposed bridge is completed, the commercial and industrial importance of Onitsha will be further enhanced. Onitsha, the principal port along the Niger, is known as the realm of the merchant princesses. Dr. Okpara, on his maiden tour as Premier of the region, arrives at Abakaliki. His first assignment is to inspect the Nkalagu cement factory. At this factory, the vast deposits of limestone in the vicinity 10 million tons, which are likely to last 60 years, are utilized for cement making at the rate of 480 tons a day. To match the rapid development in trade and commerce and the consequent increase in traffic density, great strides have been made in road development in Eastern region. Here the Premier inspects the Abakaliki-Ogoja Road. He was accompanied by the Honorable Peter Ongwe, Commissioner for Abakaliki Province. Accompanied by the Eastern Nigeria Minister of Agriculture, Mr. P.N. Okeke, the Premier spent well over 2 hours at the Abakaliki poultry farm. The party were conducted round by Mr. C. Davis, a poultry expert attached to the farm. Here's Mr. Davis explaining some points to the Premier. The Ministry of Agriculture will award 20 scholarships a year for studies in agriculture, poultry farming, and veterinary science. These awards will be for 5 years. At Enugu General Hospital, Dr. Okpara, who has immense experience in political and administrative leadership, was a former Minister of Health in Dr. Azikiwe's government. The progress made today in the Ministry of Health is due to Dr. Okpara's foresight and energy when he was Minister of Health. Enugu Catering Rest House. The premiere is conducted round by Mr. Wiseman, the manager of the rest house. At Owerri, the Premier opens the new building of the Board of Internal Revenue and later inspects the Owerri Government College. The Commissioner for Owerri Province, Chief the Honorable S.E. Onukogu, introduces Dr. Okpara to the principal and the staff of the college. Owerri Province is the biggest province in the eastern region and the arsenal of republicanism in Igbo land. Continuing his tour of the region as the new Premier, Dr. Okpara arrives at Port Harcourt. He inspects work on the £4 million Port Harcourt Wharf Extension Scheme. The Commissioner for Degema Province, the Honorable Okafor, explains progress made on the project. The port extension, when completed, will provide 3 additional deep-water berths, 3 more transit sheds, a warehouse, and other ancillary buildings. Port Harcourt is the chief port of the region and second most important in the country after Lagos. The Premier meets members of the Port Harcourt Town Council. Then he leaves for Ogoni for a short tour of inspection. The Birabi Memorial Grammar School. The principal of the school, in academic robes, conducts the premier and his party around the college building. There is oil in commercial quantities in the eastern region. An oil refinery is being built at Port Harcourt, and the natural gas at a farm near Port Harcourt is shortly to be utilized for generating electricity. To see more of the oil exploration on which Shell BP had spent well over £60 million is worth the steep climb into the helicopter. Dr. Okpara arrives at Umuahia Ibeku, his hometown, for a civic reception in his honor. He's accompanied as usual by his wife, Mrs. Adama Okpara. Mrs. Okpara is a dutiful housewife, humble and unassuming. Prayer before the reception. In the address of welcome, read by the secretary of the Umuahia community, tribute is paid to Dr. Azi Kiwe for appointing one of their sons as his worthy successor. A tiger skin and a cow for the premier. Tiger skins are a traditional gift for gallantry. Mrs. Okpara, in her turn, receives a woven native cloth from the women's section. In response, the premier says that he is the servant of his people, and no servant is greater than his master. On behalf of his wife and himself, he thanks the community for its fine gifts and the kind sentiments expressed in the address of welcome. A Bende traditional war dance. The Bende are a warlike people with a long history of victories over their enemies in days gone by. What joy and comfort for the premier to be able to turn from official cares and worries to the parents who laid the foundations of his career. The premier ends his first official tour by attending Students' Day at the Uzwakoli Methodist College, his alma mater. He has a reunion with former colleagues and makes new friends. Eastern Nigeria, side by side with the other members of the Federation, is forging ahead. Its young premier, Dr. Michael Okpara, pursues a policy based on the philosophy of live and let live and a decent life for all. The people of Eastern Nigeria respond wholeheartedly also to his appeals for agrarian evolution. Farming has become the order of the day in the eastern region, and communities are voluntarily offering land for the farm settlements proposed by Dr. Okpara's government, bringing hope for a better life not through mere slogans but through deeds, and building up agriculture as the only solid basis for true development. Like her premier, Eastern Nigeria is young, progressive, and open to the world.